A second chance or another mistake, Dylan Wang spotted with Shen Yue outside the city. The internet is reeling once again. Just when fans thought they had seen the most emotional turn in the unfolding saga between Dylan Wang and Shen Yue, a brand new twist has stunned the world. This time, it wasn't tears in a studio, a heartbroken post, or a blurry airport photo. This time, it was real, undeniable, and quietly powerful, a private sighting of the two stars, far from the flashing cameras of the city, walking side by side like no time had passed. But the question still lingers in the air like fog around them. Is this the beginning of a second chance, or the quiet setting of their final mistake? Evergreen, a surprise encounter in a place no one expected. Locals in the quiet town of Xingyi, tucked between rolling hills and lakes, were the first to sound the alarm. Early Saturday morning, a small number of guests at a private eco-retreat noticed something strange, a pair that looked too familiar. A man in a black hoodie with his cap pulled low. A woman in a long beige coat and sneakers, her hair tied in a loose bun. They kept to themselves, stayed silent, and avoided the main trails. But even through the disguise, their faces and history were unmistakable. Dylan Wang and Shen Yue, reunited again. According to a retreat staff member who spoke anonymously, they checked in under separate names but requested cabins next to each other. They were polite, quiet, and looked tired but at peace. They sat by the lake in silence for hours, the staffer said. They weren't touching, but they were connected. You could feel it. Speech balloon silence speaks louder than words. There was no hand-holding. No dramatic public gestures. No paparazzi chases. Just two people walking slowly through a foggy trail, heads slightly bowed, stopping now and then to look out at the lake. One guest who claimed to see them said, "It wasn't romantic, not in the obvious way. It was heavier than that. Like two people trying to breathe in the same memory." Fans who followed the emotional rollercoaster from Shen Yue's tearful interview to Dylan's unexpected mountain lodge appearance are now once again left spinning with questions. What does this mean? Why meet so far from the spotlight? And why now? Dove escape or reconnect Ion? Sources close to both camps suggest the trip was not planned for publicity. In fact, no team member, manager, or stylist was present. A friend of Dylan's said quietly, he just wanted space to speak to her without a script. He wasn't trying to fix things for the cameras, he just needed to see if they could be humans again, not headlines. Meanwhile, Shen Yue's inner circle has remained silent. But one trusted assistant reportedly told a colleague, this trip is closure, or a new beginning. She doesn't even know which yet. Camera with flash the photo that broke the internet. Despite their efforts to stay hidden, a guest at the retreat captured a photo from afar, Dylan and Shen Yue standing at the edge of a cliff, the valley stretching out before them. Their backs were turned to the camera. Shen Yue's coat gently blew in the wind. Dylan had his head tilted toward her, just slightly. No filter. No flash. No caption. But it didn't need one. Within 2 hours, the photo had been reposted over 300,000 times. The hashtag #DylanandShenYueInXingyi trended globally. Broken heart, a second chance or another mistake. Not everyone is rejoicing. While many fans are holding on to hope, others are warning Shen Yue to protect her heart. Please don't go back just because you miss what you had, one fan commented. Healing doesn't mean returning to what hurt you, wrote another. Yet others believe that what they're witnessing is growth, not regression. This isn't the same Dylan. This isn't the same Shen Yue. And maybe now, they finally see each other for real. Hourglass with flowing sand, the day ends, but the story doesn't. On the final evening of their retreat, the two were seen sitting outside their cabins under the stars. There were no raised voices. No slamming doors. Only quiet conversation, heads leaned toward one another, and what looked like tears again. And then, Shen Yue handed him something. No one knows what it was. Some say it was a letter. Others think it was her necklace, the one Dylan once gave her during their first drama shoot. Whatever it was, he held it gently, nodded, and placed it in his jacket. Speech balloon Dylan's caption says it all. Hours after leaving the retreat, Dylan posted a single black and white photo of the lake. His caption read, "Sometimes you don't go back to fix it. You go back to feel it one last time. What comes next? No official statement has been released. Both Dylan and Shen Yue remain off-grid. No scheduled appearances. No press. No interviews. Just one lingering truth. They met again. They talked again. And maybe, just maybe, they're healing again. Was it a second chance? Or was it closure disguised as calm? Fans may not know for now. But one thing is certain, their story is far from over. Because when two people are written into each other's pain, their endings never come quickly. They unfold slowly, emotionally, and always just out of reach. When words weren't enough, Dylan Wang and Shen Yue's silence said it all. The world watched from a distance, once again breathless. The photo of Dylan Wang and Shen Yue at the cliffside retreat had already carved itself into the memory of millions. Two silhouettes standing close, yet not touching. Two hearts that had collided, fractured, and somehow impossibly found each other again under grey skies and golden trees. But while the internet debated what it all meant, in the quiet hills of Xingyi, a more fragile story was still unfolding. A story not written in statements or Instagram posts, but in glances, pauses, shared warmth, and the spaces between their words. Crescent moon the night the stars returned. After days of walking the same forest paths, sipping silent tea in the same sun-warmed corners, and sharing meals they barely touched, everything changed on the third night. It started with a power outage. The lights at the eco-retreat blinked off, and for a few minutes, only the sound of wind and distant thunder filled the silence. Dylan had been sitting outside his cabin, watching the sky as it shifted from dusk to velvet. He hadn't knocked on Shen Yue's door. Not once since they arrived. But she stepped outside anyway, wearing a soft grey sweater, her face clean of makeup, her eyes unsure. They stood facing each other, bathed only in the flickering light of the stars above. And that's when Shen Yue whispered the question neither of them had dared ask aloud. Do you still remember who we were, before everything broke? Dylan didn't speak right away. Instead, he reached into the pocket of his jacket and pulled out a folded napkin. She recognized it immediately, the one from a cafe they used to sneak away to during filming years ago. On it were her words, scribbled in her handwriting, faded but real. If we ever lose each other, it read. Find me where the sky touches the trees. Shen Yue took the napkin with trembling fingers, her throat tight. You kept this? Dylan nodded. You asked me to. The apology that never needed words. They sat down on the cold stone steps outside the cabin. Not side by side, but close enough that their hands almost touched. For several minutes, neither said a word. The silence was not awkward. It was healing. Finally, Dylan broke it with a sentence so simple, it made Shen Yue flinch. I didn't know how to love you back then. She looked at him, not angry, not even hurt, just open. And now? He smiled softly, but there was sadness in it. Now I know how. But I'm scared it's too late. She let that sit in the air between them, before responding quietly. Maybe it's not about being too late. Maybe it's about being honest this time. Speech ballooned the story no one knew. For the first time, Dylan spoke of the nights he tried to call, only to hang up after the first ring. The messages he wrote but never sent. The way he avoided watching her dramas, not because he didn't care but because her face made his heart ache with everything he couldn't say. And Shen Yue. She finally admitted she had been waiting. Not for him to return, but for the pain to stop hurting. For the memories to stop making her question her worth. For the silence to feel like peace instead of punishment. And it never did, she whispered. Because we never ended properly. We just stopped. Rain cloud hashed the moment that broke them open. Rain began to fall. Softly at first, then heavier. But they didn't move. Shen Yue looked at Dylan through damp lashes and said, I'm not the girl I was when you left. I've changed. I've learned how to protect my heart. And you have to prove you won't disappear again. Dylan nodded. I won't ask for promises. I'll ask for time. And presence. And the chance to show you I'm not running anymore. She smiled then, the first real one since they arrived. Not the one she wore for cameras. Not the one she used to convince the world she was okay. But a true smile, trembling and brave. Camera with flash, the leaked moment that started it all again. The next morning, a retreat employee who had witnessed the rain-soaked exchange uploaded a photo before deleting it minutes later. In the image, Shen Yue stood beneath a tree, her sweater soaked, her hair falling around her face. Dylan stood a few steps behind her, his jacket half draped over her shoulders. He wasn't smiling. He was looking at her like she was the only person left in the world. The post went viral instantly. Screenshots flew across every platform. Speculation roared back to life. Are they back together? Was this planned? Are they healing, or just holding on to the past? Shen Yue's silent answer. That afternoon, Shen Yue posted a short captionless video on her private page, no words, no audio, just a slow pan of the lake at sunrise. At the very end of the clip, just before the fade-out, two figures appeared on the edge of the water. Walking. No drama. No rush. Just walking, together. What comes next? Nothing official has been said. No statements. No PR posts. No comeback announcements. But those who understand silence know. Something has shifted. Maybe it's not reconciliation. Maybe it's not romance. Maybe it's just understanding. But maybe, just maybe, that's how love is born again, not in fireworks or headlines, but in the quiet decision to stay when it's easier to leave. As one fan beautifully wrote, "They don't owe us answers. They just owe each other the truth." And for the first time in years, it looks like they're finally giving it.